Unfiltered with Bran Otieno and Dongo Gashane.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Unfiltered, a podcast that comes your way every Thursday, bringing you unbiased analysis of news and current affairs. My name is Bran Otieno. I'm a reporter at the Standard Group. I'll be hosting alongside...
I'm also a reporter here at the Standard, and my name is Ndongo Gashane, and today we are privileged to host one of the most influential lawyers in town, city lawyer.
He's laughing. He seems to be doubting your...
the credentials and the hips and praises. His name is Jackson Kiroko Ndegwa, but I believe he is going to describe and tell us who he is so that we, before we engage on other topics. Welcome, Ndegwa.
Karibu.
You know, the Nigerians have it that the lizard that jumped from the Iroko tree said that it would praise itself. It was not praised. Today, although there is no Iroko tree here, I don't have the burden of having to praise myself. Kiroko Ndegwa correctly put, that's my name. And it's going to be my joy to be able to give the unfiltered analysis.
Karibu sana, Bwana Kiroko. Yeah, you've been very instrumental in defending victims of, protests. Yes. People who were arrested during those demonstrations and charged with treason. Yes. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, it's an experience for us. Many are the times we read about the historical injustices where you are told about things like Wagala massacre, where you are told about the struggle. Some of us were not able to participate in the struggle for the repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution, the retired Constitution, that we now have tales to tell to our grandchildren. I think it's an honor on our part, but to the victims, I know it's been a tough journey, and I'm saying victims because some of them were victims, real victims of the police brutality, but somewhat either to scatter them or to sell fear, as Kenyans would popularly say. They've been charged unnecessarily with anti-terror charges, which unfortunately has been a total waste of public money. You remember there are people who they would take those people in a convoy of Subarus. I mean, a Gen Z. You are taking them to court in Subarus, many Subarus. Yet we have a minister who is occupying the position of the Ministry of Interior, who all of a sudden now seems not to cater in budget for arresting the real criminals. And the person who is complaining is now charged with fueling that vehicle. How those DCIs who were arresting Gen Zs and taking them to court, how they all of a sudden had fuel in abundance.
Yeah.
And now they don't have it.
You seem to have read our minds because we wanted to ask you about the issue of, the minister, Kipchumba Murkomen, telling Kenyans to, help sort out the fuel bills.
Yes.
Have you been a good citizen? Have you helped fuel police vehicles?
If that is the yardstick for good citizenship, then I think I should be a national from another country. I think the basic requirement for any government is to protect life and property. Forget about development and empowerment programs and all these other things. That's why we pay taxes. Now we have a government that seems to have forgotten its primary role. And now we even have a minister who is saying, please understand these corrupt officers, because I believe there is corruption. That's outright corruption. There is a whole Article 48 of the Constitution that talks about access to justice. One of the hindrances of access to justice is finances. So if you are told to fuel a Range Rover to travel, say, 100 or 200 kilometers to and fro, I mean, that would itself be a hindrance to justice. The minister seems to be stuck in some medieval times, and where justice was for those who could afford. He seems to be completely lost of his job description. If I were him, I would step aside.
Actually, before I seem to cut you short, but
Yes.
Let's face it.
Yes.
Well, money has so many names.
Yes.
The money that you go to church and you give it to pastor,
Yes.
you call that money what?
Offering all time.
Offering, and they're also tithe.
Mm.
Money that you that Brian is paid after
Yes.
the end of after serving and writing stories here, the standard, it's called salary.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes it's called wages.
Yes.
It is the same money that police demand from Kenyans in terms of bribery
Tea. It's called
Tea.
tea.
or even tea.
Yes.
Chai.
Now even those people in some of corrupt run offices,
Yes.
they say chai ya wazee. So let's face it.
Yes.
Wakili, have you ever given a bribe to a police officer?
I might end up giving self-incriminating evidence. I don't know whether to exercise my right to remain silent. But I forbear. And for a reason, you cannot afford to sustain practice. For instance, in my practice as a lawyer, you'll interact with policemen so many times. If you keep giving bribes to policemen, that cost is pushed towards the client. These clients sometimes come to you as the last recourse. Some of them currently are even complaining of the bare minimum fees provided by the advocate's remuneration order. It might be completely tenable. And when police know that you give bribes, they will never serve you without you giving that bribe. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you're seeing a situation in which a bribery is being mainstreamed in our culture.
Yes. It seems like the minister now need to draft a policy on what amount of fuel one needs to pay and for what offense. Say mwizi wa kuku unapatia fuel ya boda boda. I don't know. It's completely senseless. It doesn't even make sense at all.
Yes, but when a whole cabinet secretary
Yes.
and the principal secretary for interior and coordination of the national government
Yes.
boldly tells Kenyans to
Understand.
understand the police officers and give them fuel, what does it mean to the ordinary Kenyans who flock to the police officers, to the police stations, seeking justice and reporting crimes? What does it mean from where you sit, Wakili?
That our police stations are now crime scenes. That the president, when you saw the president the other day launching a committee to fight corruption, I think it was it was not fight against corruption, it was fight against those who fight corruption. Because if his own minister, who is supposed to even facilitate the interior coordination of the country, literally what we used to call the home affairs, is telling people, look, justice is not for free. You must dig deep into your pocket to facilitate these people. We pay salaries. We pay salaries using your own taxpayers' money. And the unfortunate bit is that they now have the government that seems to be disempowered to fight, to help people access justice, is now empowering people in different fora. And the agenda of those empowerment programs, you'll find the whole deputy president, a professor of law, a colleague of mine, saying, Mimi noma siyo noma, Mimi fire siyo fire. As if to, that's what is abhorred under Chapter 6 of the Constitution, that you may have some leader who is drunk with power, akin to the ones already in power, and they seize every opportunity for self-aggrandizement. I don't think it is proper for any leader to come and tell us, yeye ni noma, yeye ni fire, and he's distributing money from taxpayers, from coffers.
Yeah.
And in contrast, we have his interior minister, who is here telling us policemen are not properly facilitated to aid in protecting lives and property. I mean that's paradoxical. Yes.
Gashane, what I see is that in a country where we struggle with access to justice, so many people can't access justice because of the bottlenecks of bribery and whatnot.
Yeah.
So now when the CS tells people that you have to fuel this vehicle, does it mean then that a person who can't afford to offer even 100 shillings for the police, for the policemen, can't access justice?
A very good question, because you see, they have gone to the police because they want to be law-abiding citizens.
Yes.
Probably a thief has broken into their house and they cannot do what we call citizen arrest. They go to the police station and report that issue. Now you are told, weka gari mafuta ndio tuende huyo mwizi. If you don't have that money to fuel that car, that means the police will not come to get that particular thief. The only other avenue this person could have is going to Wakili Ndegwa. And Kiroko will open a file, you know. So, is there justice to ordinary Kenyans?
And during the regime of President Ruto, Dr. Ruto, I forgot, Dr. Ruto and Professor Kidiki, I think justice is only on paper. If that's the new policy for the government, then Kenyans are left to retake their power. You see how power is structured in the current constitutional under the current constitutional regime. It is akin to what John Locke and after him some gentleman by the name I'm trying to get his name, the Baron de Montesquieu structured, that citizens have to surrender some of their rights and the government is supposed to tax you so that they may be able to protect you and your property. Then citizens have, this is the recourse the citizen have, akin to what is envisioned in Article 37 of the Constitution, is a citizen can exercise their sovereignty directly under Article 1, because the government seems to have forgotten that their primary role is to protect these mwananchi, who, when he buys bread, there is some 10 shillings that goes to the government in form of taxes, so as to be able to just facilitate the basics of ensuring that if the police are supposed to take you to arrest a suspect, they will not need to hitch a ride or maybe to travel through the rudimentary means of transport, or to have those bottlenecks.
Yeah.
We have a whole government that seems to have reversed roles. They will tell us that they need to vaccinate our livestock, or so that they don't pollute the environment. Not that but at the same time, our environment is equally polluted by the corruption that the current minister seems to be literally endorsing.
Yeah.
That Kenyans are now on their own. This is just a government telling you of how incompetent they are, that they waliingia kwa hiyo kazi by way of they lied in their CV. Yeah.
You made a very important point about Kenyans exercising, their rights to direct
the sovereignty,
direct sovereignty. In Nepal, they exercised that right, and within 48 hours, they brought a government down.
Yes,
but at the cost of more than 70 people who were killed.
Yeah.
In Kenya, we saw that happen last year. Do you think if Kenya had gone all the way, we would be experiencing what happened in Nepal?
I think it was a lost opportunity for us. to the extent, it was a lot. I think we should have actually been the one to set the pace for Nepal. I say that with a lot
you're
of,
saying you support.
Yes, I support demonstrations.
The overthrow of a government.
Actually, the minister should be the minister, the president, the deputy president, and all those cabals who are occupying those state offices should be decent enough to resign. I honestly believe Ruto in the next 2 years have nothing to offer Kenyans. His deputy president, other than exploring whether he still have a base or not, has nothing else to offer Kenyans. In that, and I'm saying that with a lot of caution, because I know those ones who are asking legitimate questions, when the Minister for Interior, as at that time, was showing off of how he was living a life of opulence against very high taxation, against complaints of high unemployment, against unfulfilled promises, against a failing health, health cover for the national health cover. And Kenyans were asking legitimate questions. What followed were mass killings, bodies emerging from everywhere. I mean, I think Kenyans ought to have really exercised their
I hear you,
of the
Akili. But the
Constitution.
question is,
Yes,
where is the line between sovereignty
yes,
and using extra legal and or extra constitutional means to actually remove people from power?
Yes.
Because the Constitution, in as much as Article 1 talks about sovereignty, the power belongs to the people.
yes,
And so that may be used to justify what probably happened in Nepal. But the same Constitution gives methods and ways
Yes.
on which you can use to actually remove people like the president and the government from power.
Yes.
The impeachment, you see?
Yes.
I thought as a lawyer you would say you do not support using extra legal or constitutional means.
Yes.
It's like a coup.
Yeah, it is.
And I disagree to the extent that if Parliament, as we know it today, you'd have expected by now the president, some good member of Parliament ought to have by now filed an impeachment motion against the president after the president himself confessed to having released, I think, 150 million to help in the passage of a government bill. What is that? That's corruption. I mean, and a member of Parliament does not need to be facilitated or to be enticed into agreeing to pass a popular bill. We have had MPs who have confessed to have passed motions that were in support of government, but not supported by Wanjiku, by the common Kenyan. We have a parliament that turned at that has been tone deaf. Most of these parliamentarians are unwanted lot. They are persona non grata in their very constituencies. When they are told, when the Constitution said in good measure, please ensure that you do public participation in every decision you take. They do public participation, but they may still proceed. They actually acknowledge it. It's in the Hansard. Then, what is left of Kenyans when we have a president who will say one thing with this side of the lips, then tomorrow he says something else while smiling?
How about wait? How about, wait for his term to end and, judge him on the ballot?
That's still an option. The only issue is at what cost. Assuming today you are told you allow yourself to allow criminals to rule the streets, as it has happened, and you'll have a minister who will gaslight you into agreeing with with alternative facts. We have a government that has literally they have perfected the art of giving alternative facts. If we were to wait, then it would be at what cost? If our monies are being used to bribe 150 million to parliamentarians, then why do we need to keep them in power when the primary role of the government being to protect life and property? Even to that mwananchi, you are required to give a bribe.
It's interesting that you ask about, the costs.
Yes.
What is the cost of not waiting? We've seen in countries like Sudan, where Omar al-Bashir was removed through a popular uprising. But then the military took over. Wrangles between two factions have plunged the country into a near civil... It's actually a civil war. It's the worst humanitarian crisis currently. And that is the cost. That is the reality of our continent. That whenever governments are removed through such means, countries never go back to where they were before.
Yes.
What about Kenya tells you that this couldn't be us?
It is not to say that there is not going to be bloodshed. I say that with a lot of caution. I know whether the government is in power or not, there has been a common denominator that lives are lost. Government will always push to retain its power. It's actually one of the things that Baron de Montesquieu envisioned, that any person who assumes power will always want to push to have their or to check at or rather to have some excessive power, because power is supposed to corrupt you. But when we have people who are unable to resist that temptation, then the easiest thing for them to do, I see them pledging to Christians of how they are going to build churches, how they are good Christians, how it's a fight against good and evil. If they are good enough, it is only reasonable for them to resign, to step aside. Kenya would still survive after Ruto gets out of power, after Murkomen gets out of power. The only thing there would be is that maybe, and this discussion was taking a very good shape when the president said, "You want me to go? Tell me how." Maybe he should have said, "If I will step aside on condition that I get what we call a pardon," because ultimately all these things they are doing, they will have to be held accountable under the doctrine of command responsibility. The statement that Murkomen said that if you see someone coming near a police station, should be shot, then that ought to somehow, he needs to be held to account on that alone.
Yes.
All this money he has gotten to buy very expensive watches, we will still ensure there is retribution. This one is not.
Now, Akidi, what do you think prevented Kenya to go to or the Nepal way? What do you think made Kenya not take that? Do you think it is probably the involvement of Raila Odinga, the ODM leader?
Yes.
Or what do you think slowed down the country from going the Nepal way? And are you happy about it, that we never went the Nepal way?
I'm not happy. I would have been happy if the greedy cabal in power got out of power, whether through demonstrations or through resignations. But what stopped us from going the Nepal way, I think it was infiltration by those in power. You remember the recent demonstration, the demonstration that took place in the year 2025, from the June and the July demonstrations. We had government-hired goons infiltrate demonstrations and stage arson, attacks. And why I say they are government-sponsored is because we could see them walking alongside policemen, that the police that time could not arrest people who are armed with batons and very crude weapons. Yet these people are walking alongside the police. And they would attack innocent Kenyans who are merely exercising their right to demonstrate. The only thing that really stopped us was that Kenyans still, the Gen Z were naive enough to believe that the government would listen to them. But I think the next time, they have better lessons now.
Now, something else.
Yes.
I think I asked this question elsewhere. That you see a country like Kenya, Gen Z on the streets talking about the lavish lifestyles by the politicians and the political class.
Yes.
They are talking about nepotism, elitism, corruption, and coincidentally, these are the same issues that the Gen Zs of Nepal and other protesters from Bangladesh and other countries are using the same, I don't know what to call it, justifications to go on strike. Now, you wonder, is it a coincidence that these issues are actually being faced or experienced in all these countries? Or is it just because of the scenario like that? You remember when you were in a secondary school,
yes,
when one school went on strike, others saying that Githeri haina sijui imewekwa mafuta. Then you see a whole lot of other schools going on strike.
Yes.
Is it really some of real issues affecting these nations, or are agencies just competing to go on strike or to go on to hold protests so that they can be equal, or they can just be like other countries?
A good question. Whether comparatively, I may not have had the experience of Nepal, but any person who is above 30 years today, actually above 25 years, those ones who took ID during the last term of the last president and have had an opportunity to even look for a job, to engage in an economic activity, they can tell the difference. We never had, it's only during this regime that we have had very serious, or rather very undignifying moments where we have a collapsed health system, where education funding, you're being told. Do you remember the banding where you are told you belong to Badwan? The
Yes.
funding. We have the government that this is the government that has taxed Kenyans the most, even more than the colonialists. Do you remember that it was the colonizers who introduced the heart tax? So now we are paying a metamorphosed form of it called the housing levy. The only thing is that the heart tax used to pay for a house you already
That you're
have.
living.
But this housing levy that we are paying for, we are being charged, is for a house you never get. Actually, it's being pledged like the carrot and stick hypothesis. You are told, oh, the teachers will get 20%. The people from the slum. It is now a campaign tool that this government is the very worst. Now, if Nepalese or people from Nepal had similar experiences, then I would not think, I don't think it's an issue of peer influence or what you'd call a competition between generation. But this is also expected. Remember, the world is going through a recession. We did not expect anything less than a recession after we closed the world for 2 years during COVID. So this is expected to continue. When people are having a crisis, then we require pragmatic leadership. And that's what this government rode to power on. They told us, oh, we understand Kenyans, there is issues of state capture. They gave us very lofty promises.
Yes.
And Gen Zs believed in them. That now when these Gen Zs are complaining, what happened to your promises? You remember the president had even, when he was a deputy president, he had even promised you give people diapers. Now even the cost, he even scrapped off Linda Mama, which was introduced by the other regime. So all these things that the Kenyans are complaining, and I also believe that even Nepalese are complaining of, are legitimate issues. Now, what happened in the case of Nepal is that the president or those in power wanted to regulate how people can engage in social media. And they actually banned most of these social media sites. And that, to them, to the common Mwananchi, felt like it was an attempt to gag them. So they literally had to revolt. And you remember during the Gen Z demonstration, there was an attempt to gag. There was even an attempt to gag the media. I remember Standard had a very serious rebuttal that the then CAK CEO has no mandate to regulate what content to air. That ought to be done by the media association, the media council. These are attempts of people who are in power so drunk that they don't want to let go. That they are no longer serving the interests of Mwananchi. Instead, they want to suppress that Mwananchi so that they may lord over them. It is that time when Duncan Ndegwa in his book, Walking in the Kenyatta Struggles, stated that you cannot lord over people, especially when your mental capacity does not allow you to. You need to be a super genius to lord over them. But for those ones in power, they should actually understand that the people they are dealing with, they are extremely learned. They are extremely learned. That's why when you say something, they will always audit you. Wananchi are auditing you online. Indeed. And when they gag them, when they gag the media, when they gag like a podcast like this one, there is bound to be some resistance.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. What you're saying is, I'm sure Gashane, covering politics, will agree that, in covering politicians, there are certain patterns that you notice every other time, and you ask yourself, don't they ever learn? Historically, even the fall of imperialism in many countries in Europe was pushed by this, disdain for the peasants. You have the royals living large at the expense of their citizens, and that's what is happening in Kenya, where people are, flaunting opulence. They don't seem to be struggling. Yet
they are not only struggling to understand how you are struggling.
Yeah. And now it's worse with social media around.
Yes.
Because now they can, parade all that for everyone to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ama ni aje Gashani?
That's very true. Ni ukweli kabisa.
It's a tone-deaf leadership. Tone-deaf.
But Wakili, going on or moving on to another issue where we have seen delegations after delegations. In fact, State House has become like...
it's a bar. It's a keg base.
It's not a bar. The bar was,
It was lower.
the bar
There's
was
no
there.
bar at all.
No, the other bar.
No, the other bar.
was,
it was torn
removed.
apart.
But we have seen delegation, even teachers, over
Yes.
10,000 teachers, and we have respect for our teachers. But
Yes.
there were claims that after the Saturday's meeting, I believe it was on a Saturday, they lined up up until 12 a.m. waiting to get their fair share of 10,000 shillings. We have also had other delegations from counties like Muranga. On Friday, it was their turn. We have also had delegations from Kisii and Nyamira.
Yes.
You remember during the protest, something very interesting happened, that they were saying and demanding that State House belongs to Kenyans.
Absolutely.
Now, the president has opened doors to Kenyans because he's inviting pastors, teachers, delegations, grassroots readers, pillars.
Yes.
Now, and President Ruto's critics claim that State House is should be a very nice place.
Sacred.
It's a sacred place that not all people, it should not be open to all.
Yes.
And others believe it's a strategy to gain his dwindling popularity.
Actually bankrupted popularity.
Wakili, you must use some nice words to our president. Remember, he's a PhD holder.
I know.
Now, what do you make of these State House meetings? And do you believe by the end of the day it is going to achieve Ruto's mission and target?
That the president has lost course. I believe the president has lost course. When you see a person continuously how learned he is, we know professors by their deeds, by the writings they've published, by the breakthrough they've done in their specific area of specialty. I'm thinking of a president who promised Kenyans a lot of goodies, who promised Kenyans that they would get very cheap access, they would access very cheap loans. But when he got to power, he said, all these people, pesa ya bure. I'm seeing a president who is merely using an opportunity to, he's literally doing what we call reclaiming imperialism in the presidency. That you'd have to go and switch talk the president for you to get a service. When the teacher, you hear those who have gone to the president's side say, we are not fighting the government because we want maendeleo. Maendeleo should be your right because you pay taxes. You are a Kenyan. You are entitled to, for instance, to health cover. When the teachers write their CBAs, you'd expect that the government in place through the commission, they ought to honor those. When you find JSC teachers clamoring for permanent employment, you don't need to go and sweet talk the president. The president should be able to serve to serve us because that's what he sought for. Now, I hear that those ones who are saying that the State House is now a bar are being told, look, they are called critic. Actually, those are the ones who endear truth, who are willing to speak truth to power. You cannot turn State House to all and sundry, and what you are discussing are not actually. You find those if you see those empowerment programs in State House, it is usually monologues. The president telling people of what he has done. The gentleman has presided over an economy that he has taxed us so much that he has taken away our spending power. No wonder why when people go to State House, the first thing they will ask, kuna pesa, the brown envelopes. Huh? Because you cannot afford to stay away from where you get your daily bread to go and play your civic duty. Because the economy is so hard, the spending power has literally been defiled by the current regime. And that opportunity to go and participate in your civic duties has to come with some level of compensation. So there is no objectivity in the
Wakili,
whole event.
I'm sorry to cut you short.
Yes.
So if I get you
Yes.
right,
Yes.
what you're saying is that you don't have a problem with the president calling people to the State House.
The problem is the motive.
Mhm.
Yes, the motive. When you see, for instance, there was a time he called boda riders or people who are young people to give them boda. What followed were controversies of people being threatened because they never got boda. So we have a president who is lying. You come
So
and parade
what
people,
would you want the president to call people to?
he should just be announcing his resignation. For a president who has continuously lied to Kenyans, who has presided over the worst economic times for Kenyans, who has literally bankrupted the payroll, the public payroll, or rather ask those people who are serving government office, especially at the counties. There are counties who have stayed for close to 6 months without pay. Yet Kenyans are still paying their taxes. He has literally borrowed 3.5 trillion since he got to power without any major infrastructure project.
Wakil, is it fair to demand the president's resignation when this week he's been in at the coast? He was in Mombasa yesterday, and
Launching a railway track.
yeah, and Bonagashani. We were watching that thing with you live.
Yes.
You saw the crowds shouting two-term. Do you think those kinds of people want the president to resign?
Those ones are the same people who, away from the cameras, they will say, oh, we were paid to do that. Those ones are the ones who complain they never got their share.
I think, Wakili, I should ask you this question.
Yes.
For the 3 years that President Ruto has been in power,
Yes.
other than there's so many things that you think he has done bad or he has not been...
He has not done, there are things he has
anything
done,
good.
he has done wrong.
What do you think? What is this one thing that you think Ruto has done something that we can say it's positive and has changed the lives of Kenyans?
That one would require some research. But he has helped us discover our civic duty to keep the government in check. I give that to him. He has reminded us that Kenyans must keep their leaders on toes. He has helped us remember that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. In terms of what he may have done right, I'm trying to understand of the sectors that are not devolved, that is security. We have Jubaland invading the Kenyan soil in Mandela, Jubaland army. We have some weapons that were designated to come to our army people being found in some foreign country. We have Kenyans being robbed in broad daylight in Nairobi. In terms of what that is not devolved, the national health insurance is dead. Education sector, he introduced some funding model that ended up collapsing, and then he said, I now listen to Kenya, we are going back to the same thing I found. The president, in terms of his manifesto, maybe the only thing he has done is that we are still surviving. That's the only thing I would say. At least we are still surviving.
Mr. Gazani, you interact with the ground a lot.
Yes.
What are those people who go to State House as part of those delegations telling you about the engagements with the president?
Well, as Wakili put it, most of the Kenyans who visit their president they say that the president reminds them that before he took over, unga prices was over 200 shillings. I don't know whether Wakili goes to the shop to buy or whether you have a contrary. You have contrary facts. You have alternative facts in regard to the unga prices on. So they say that agriculture has done something. They also say that he has joined, he has shaken hands with Raila Odinga, and so he expects that the region that overwhelmingly voted for Raila in 2022, he is going to inherit that. And truth be told, politics are local, and the structure of Kenyan politics is that they are ethnic and tribal. So I do not want to say that Wakili's views here may be elitist, or because he comes from a certain region where they are all of a sudden in the opposition. But basically, that's what people say. I don't know
Wakili.
what you say about it, Wakili.
Wakili, you haven't heard anything positive in what Gashani has said about Ruto.
I think there is a propaganda that the president has done something for the agriculture.
You call it propaganda?
That's propaganda. You know, there was an issue of minimum guarantee returns. I'm just trying to engage in terms of what were the deliverables. He had talked about Garana Kulalu of putting, I think it was several thousands of acres. How far that project is still questionable. We still have we are still having a country where we have to import so as to ensure we don't fall short of our production. That the food basket does not run dry. I'm looking at those ones who might say the president has done something towards the subsidization of fertilizer. I come from Murang'a myself, and I know many other times that subsidized fertilizer we have fallen short of it. That farmers sometimes have to go to several depots to see if the fertilizer is available. I know that some fertilizer was donated to by the Russian government the last time I checked, but what the government said, it presented it at a cost to Kenyans. What was donated, what was given freely ought to have been given freely. I'm looking at the macadamia sector. The president literally ruined it by allowing Chinese to come and buy from the Kenyan market raw macadamia. So I'm trying to understand exactly what it is the president would brag about reviving the agricultural economy. Mumia Sugar, despite the protest by the locals on the over privatization, he proceeded to privatize. I may not say much about the Mumia Sugar, but I know a good number of farmers there are debt-laden. How the government ought to have done, and there are many other sectors. I'm looking at coffee, I'm looking at tea. Where are those minimum guarantee guarantee returns?
MGRs.
Where are they? 3 years down the line, is he still blaming on the former regime for the public coffers that he made that were drained? And if that's still the position, why is it that no one has been arrested now that they are in power? Now that they can command police, they can command the DPP. Why is it that they have not arrested even a single individual who drained the coffers?
But there was some, so there were facts in what the president was claiming, because he inherited a debt-ridden economy. Yeah, the former president was on a borrowing spree for much of the 10 years he was president. Found a debt of, I think, 1.4. Borrowed some 6.7, I believe, trillion.
Yes.
In 10 years.
Yes. It is true. And
then there was also the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which affected many countries.
Which, when he was a deputy president, say had nothing to do with the economy. This president who said he will not borrow has borrowed 3.4 trillion. And there is not even a single infrastructure.
It's actually 4 trillion.
It is 4 trillion. Oh, sorry. My math. I failed
the
in
math
maths.
yesterday. It's about 4.2 trillion.
When there is nothing that he can show for it. We don't have any expressway. We don't have any major superhighway. As a matter of fact, even the route he uses to go to his Sugoi home is always ridden with traffic jam.
Yeah.
But Wakili,
Yes.
don't you think by probably joining Raila Odinga and having the broad-based arrangement, don't you think Ruto, as his proteges put it, he has stabilized this country in terms of unity, he has brought this country together in terms of unity? What is your view about it?
That Raila Odinga lost credibility a lot by shaking hands with Ruto. And I say this with a lot of confidence, that there was no disunity in Raila being in the opposition. If it is a unity for purpose. All he needed was to inculcate the ideas that Raila Odinga had in mind when he was contesting for presidency. But when we have when Raila joins the government, and then his first order of business is to defend Adani deal. I think this was merely a cabal of elitist leadership joining hands to suppress the Mwananchi.
The other, I don't know if you also refer to them as a cabal of elitists, but there are other people who have also united. They call themselves the United Opposition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, most of them are not even campaigning right now. As the president, spends his days atop, vehicles.
His V8.
Do you believe the opposition stand a chance against the president?
They do. Actually, it's not even the opposition; it's Kenyans. Any Kenyans? I had a matter in Eldoret law courts sometimes back, and when I landed in the Eldoret airport, I hailed an Uber. I realized the gentleman shares his origin with the president. And I tested the waters. I asked, hey, the president must be doing something great for this country. He almost ended my ride. He told me, look, are you from State House? And he kept addressing me as part of the elitist in government. I realized the president does not even enjoy support from his own community. He shares, this gentleman, I will not say his name for obvious reasons, but in essence, it is not per se another group of elitists opposing the government. This is a government that has bastardized its own, that has literally defiled the dream. This is a government that would not shy from defending a rapist because the victim conceived. In essence, anything good that may have arisen from their regime, it is as a result of a coincidence. It is a government that was determined to hold on to power by whatever means. And clearly, whatever they promise Kenyans is far from whatever they can achieve.
Yes, but okay, I think to take further to Brian's question, there is an opposition in Kenya headed by, I don't know, Kalonzo or even former deputy president.
I said by several principles.
By several principles.
Yes.
Now, the opposition, especially Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, you will see him in funerals, in press briefings. The same case would apply to Mother Karua, the PLP, the party leader.
Yes.
Other than Gachagua, who we will see him in several meetings in Mount Kenya region. The other leaders from the opposition.
Let's give him credit. He's been all over the country, but he's been
he has focused
frequently.
Yes, he has concentrated
in Mulima, in Nairobi, part of Nairobi.
Yes, but the other principles in the opposition,
yes,
I think are nowhere to be seen. But we have seen the president and his team,
yes,
who are now roaming, hovering aimlessly in coast.
Yes.
Aimless.
It's without a name.
They're looking for votes.
Looking for votes. Yeah.
But they should be delivering.
Okay, do you think if the opposition will not focus and maintain their campaigns to the people,
yes,
do you think they will stand a chance to compete the president against the president, who is, as you know, a smart politician? He may have failed in his duty. He may have failed according to what you are saying, but this is a smart politician who has never ever
he's never lost in
he has never lost in any election. Do you think if the opposition continues this way,
yes,
and the other issues about issue-based, do we have
politics?
Do we have issue-based politics in our country?
Yes.
Because if it is about 2-term and 1-term, and we are seeing only one leader in the opposition going on with the agenda, competing against the president,
yes,
do you then think that Ruto will not serve his 2-term?
I know it's very hard to predict. Sometimes you've seen even the most unexpected things happen. But in terms, unless this current government digs back to power, the opposition does not even need to campaign. We have had a president who can never be trusted. There's the Kenyan man, the Kenyan population can never trust the person holding on to the presidency. That it doesn't matter how many goodies he's able to promise with his, when he's campaigning, he has very little to show. Remember, this is the same president who said, I'm not asking for 10 years, a 10-year tenure. I'm asking for 5 years. And if I succeed, you give me another 5 years.
Yes.
But the marking sheet is out. The results are out that he has failed tremendously.
Lakini wakili, you and
Yes.
I know that
Yes.
the structure of Kenyan politics,
Yes.
it is not about issues. Let's face it.
Yes.
It's about tribal mobilization.
Yes.
And Kenyans vote on wave. They vote on euphoria.
Yes.
And by 2027,
Yes.
I believe communities will coalesce amongst themselves
Yes. To support their
to
own,
support their own. So, even forget about the story from the person who shares the origin with the president.
With the president. Yes.
Forget about him. Come 2027, he may see Ruto as one of my own.
He will have seen the light on his way to Damascus.
Now,
it is
what
possible.
about
Yes.
when will Kenya, or do you think, do you believe that a time will come when Kenya and Kenyans will vote on issues, not tribal mobilizations? And that being the case,
Yes.
in your comparison,
Yes.
do you think the opposition may outweigh the government, or do you think it will be vice versa?
That history sometimes is a very good teacher, but a very bad bed to lie on. Assuming that historically Kenyans have voted along tribal lines, in 2022 there seems to have been there seems to have been a shift in how Kenyans voted. That the sitting president that time, hailing from a community, that he urged, even spoke to, I think through all his vernacular stations, that they should not vote for this gentleman who is, sorry, I used the word gentle. They should not vote him as for presidency, but they still voted for him. I honestly believe that tribal politics might be a thing of the past. And I'm saying that because Gen Z, even when they were protesting, they called themselves tribeless, they called themselves leaderless. Now, all they just need to do is urge on to 2027 and confirm that through the ballot. Remember, when protests were happening in 2020, 2023, 2024, and 2025, they were literally happening even in counties that the president hailed from. In 2024, for instance, there were protests even in Eldoret, in Kericho. You remember they uprooted that wheelbarrow that had been ghosted, and it took some goons to restore it back. It is not so far from reality that the president today is a lonely man, lonely at the top, and his words in 2022 when he was seeking for the presidency, that if he succeeds, he will now be held to account. But the same people who held Uhuru to account when he said yangu 10 na ya Ruto 10. Now he promised them, give me 5 years. Within these first 3 years, Kenyans literally stormed parliament, and they even attempted to storm the state house because they could not keep up with the tyranny and the hardships that this government has subjected them to. That when he said that he's going to reduce the debt of this country, he's going that instead of borrowing, he's taxing them. He has proceeded on to even double the amount of borrowing that his predecessors have. Without even any single thing, he cannot say, I have done this for the transport sector. He has done nothing. He has not even, for the record, he has not even completed the projects that the former president started. Other than he even promised, even in the housing sector, he had promised that he will over-deliver. I think he had given 10,000 houses a year. I think we are yet to do that 10,000 today, 3 years later. I think it is no longer going to be business as usual in 2027. Almost every other person can feel the pinch. And whereas in the past we've had compassionate president, including President Moi, he was very compassionate to the extent that in terms of education, in terms of the cost of living was somehow affordable. The the burden of unemployment was bearable. Now we have a president who is presiding over all evils that can happen to man, and still wants to rely on parameters set by history in different economic status. I think he needs to fire all his political advisors.
What if
Yes.
he changes tact and deliver?
With what money? We have overshot our budget. Look, if he has borrowed 4 trillion, it means he cannot borrow anymore. Most investors are running out of the country. Look at how many retrenchment notices are happening in major companies. So the president would come to preach to me that I deserved to be frustrated the way he has, and I should give him a second ticket to finish me off. I think that would be the hardest. That would be the hardest. It would be the hardest promise to give to anyone.
Oh, really? I think that's a good place to end it.
We just started the conversation.
But have we? It's been an hour already. Time flies.
There must have been some rigging.
No
The one who was
rigging
supposed to supply time, supply there instead. Anyway, it was a joy for me, and I think this is very informative. I feel like it is high time that Kenyans had this kind of discourse to be able to determine their future. Many are the times that in the past we've had scenarios, people feeling like, well, it's no longer necessary to even vote. Now they know when you don't vote, you vote for the person you don't want.
Yeah.
And now we have a aristocratic kind of leadership in power. You can't afford to risk it again. I think going forward, this conversation must never cease, so that Kenyans begin to appreciate the value of their civic duties. That the people we call the middle class are now shocked when they realize, wait, if the government has very bad policies, they might run out of business. Yeah, so it's the very high time they run these people out of the seats of
Asante
power.
sana Wakili. It's been a joy hosting you on Unfiltered. Until next Thursday, this has been Unfiltered. See you next week.